This program contains subject matter and language that may be disturbing to some viewers. Viewer discretion is advised.
Savaged, unfiltered. Your host, Michael Gardner.
Happy Christmas. 25 years ago, my grandfather broadcast the first of these Christmas messages. Today is another landmark, because television has made it possible for many of you to see me in your homes on Christmas Day. My own family often gather round to watch television, as they are at this moment, and that is how I imagine you now. I very much hope that this new medium will make my Christmas message more personal and direct. It's inevitable that I should seem a rather remote figure to many of you, a successor to the kings and queens of history, someone whose face may be familiar in newspapers and films, but who never really touches your personal lives. But now, at least for a few minutes, I welcome you to the peace of my own home. That it's possible for some of you to see me today is just another example of the speed at which things are changing all around us. Because of these changes, I'm not surprised that many people feel lost and unable to decide what to hold on to and what to discard, how to take advantage of the new life without losing the best of the old. But it's not the new inventions which are the difficulty. The trouble is caused by unthinking people who carelessly throw away ageless ideals as if they were old and outworn machinery. They would have religion thrown aside, morality in personal and public life made meaningless, honesty counted as foolishness, and self-interest set up in place of self-restraint. At this critical moment in our history, we will certainly lose the trust and respect of the world if we just abandon those fundamental principles which guided the men and women who built the greatness of this country and Commonwealth. Today, we need a special kind of courage. Not the kind needed in battle, but a kind which makes us stand up for everything that we know is right, everything that is true and honest. We need the kind of courage that can withstand the subtle corruption of the cynics, so that we can show the world that we are not afraid of the future.
Welcome to the show. Welcome, guys. As you guys may have heard, we opened up the show this message on Christmas morning, roughly about 70 years ago. This was a very old video, guys. I actually plugged this onto my social media platforms on Instagram, Facebook, and shortly we're going to plug it into TikTok. We didn't have enough time to plug it into TikTok just yet because we're starting the show and the recording and everything. But folks, that was 70 years ago, literally at Buckingham Palace, at the time when Queen Elizabeth II took her reign at 26 years old. And folks, I want to make it on the record here that this is the oldest queen in English and UK history that had the longest reign as queen at 70 years. Like I said, taking her throne at 26 years old. Bringing back on the panel here, guys, we have my good friend of the show, a good friend off the show, the co-host here on the show. We're going to welcome back Soslin Timison. He's had a very, very busy week in the political field. So welcome back, Sas. How you doing, buddy?
Man, it seems like, yesterday I got food poisoning, and apparently that's going to be for another time. That's going to be for another show where apparently some people are not liking you, so they'll do anything to kind of slow you down, but I'm still fighting. My heart goes out. I don't know if there's any listeners that are from England and Wales and that region, and my heart really goes out to you and your families and to the royal families. I know this kind of impacts me because I have family in England. And so that's why I did like a huge tribute to Queen Elizabeth because, I got to respect my family. And it's just, to me, I had to take a break from my podcast on one day to pay for my respects to the Queen Elizabeth II.
Yeah, we haven't seen Sas, guys, on the air in the last couple of days. I know he had an episode the other day about Forgive and Forget. I checked it out. It was a great show, by the way, Sas. But sometimes you need that break, and we've known that you've been busy, back and forth, up in DC at different conferences, and for the Republican committee and the defense
conference at the Pentagon.
Yeah, excuse me. Yeah, thank you for correcting. Yeah,
No, you're good.
That you've been busy. I just have to say, Sasha's been busy.
Savaged, unfiltered.
Start the show, guys. I got some stats here. First, I want to thank the listeners that have been tuning in this past week. Like I said, it's not about me. It's about you guys getting the great content out there for many of the material that you deserve hearing, on a very, very, mutual balance type of platform like we are here. So I want to thank some listeners here that tuned in. I got some great responses coming in just about all over the place from the Branch Isolé show that we had earlier this week. Phenomenal show about poetry. Also want to thank Mr. Isolé. I know he tunes into the show every now and then. So thank you, Mr. Isolé, for that amazing episode. Also want to thank my good friend, Joseph M. Leonard. Yes, folks, the author of Terror Strikes Coming to a City Near You, was on the show twice this week. Amazing conversation earlier in the middle of the week about deflection from the radical left. And that was a very interesting, very, very interesting topic. I highly suggest the listeners tune into that if you have not yet tuned into it. Getting a lot of great feedback off that show. We also did a show yesterday with movies. Yeah, something different here on the show. Really never had a show about movies, and we basically had about almost an hour and a half conversation about past, present, and future movies. Some of Joseph's favorite movies, some of my favorite movies, kind of stuck in a little political viewpoints in the middle of it. And we were just having fun. So it was a really, really good show. Thank you, Joseph, for being part of that two set of series of those shows. And we're going to have Joseph back on the panel here on the show, guys, this upcoming Sunday. It's going to be a really, really great show. We're going to have two shows. I got to remind the listeners, two shows. We're going to have the first show with the Therapy Twins, Joan and Jane. It's going to be a rather interesting show. I highly suggest you tune into that show. And then shortly after that, we're going to have a very special show with Joseph, myself, Soslin here, and Jimmy the Rant. Yes, Jimmy the Rant will be returning back on the airwaves here on the podcast. So it's going to be a really, really interesting show. So, and that show is going to be paid tribute to the 21st anniversary of 9/11. Some of that show will be sad, okay, because some of that show has a lot of reference to my personal experience that I experienced in the Lower East Side of Manhattan when I was living in New York City. Actually heard it, the buildings go down as I was waking up earlier that morning. Sounded like a freaking war zone, but I don't want to give too much spoilers out. I highly suggest you tune into that show. It's going to be a very, very special show, but yet very sad show. in honor of the brave men and women, firefighters, first responders attending to the victims from that horrific day when Middle East terrorists attacked our country 21 years this Sunday. But we're not going to be talking about today that. We're going to be talking about the tribute to Queen Elizabeth, her 70 years of reign as Queen of England. And Sas, do you have any insights on this? I know I'm talking your ear off right now, but I had to get into some important announcements in the beginning
No,
of the
you're
show.
good. So I just want to tell you before we continue on, stay tuned for next week as we're going to get back to regular programming next week. And on Thursday, September 15th, we are going to have a very special guest. We're going to be doing a sit down interview. It's going to be an exclusive interview with a baby Dropbox CEO, the Havens for Babies. So it's like the fire department, the woman that started the whole thing. So if you wanted to give up your child, you just drop off the baby at the fire station. She started that whole program. Her name is Monica. So she is out of Woodburn, Indiana. So if your listeners want to tune in on the very exclusive sit-down interview, you are welcome to do so. And we are going to I have major guest lineups. And next week, we're going to be going back to talking about Wisconsin and even the geopolitical. So that's going to be on Monday. But these next 2 days on my podcast, tomorrow we're going to do a special tribute on my podcast for families and how I was impacted by 9/11 because I was a young kid at that time. I know a lot of people can't remember actually 9/11. This generation can't. So I just want to kind of give a factual history and kind of for the younger listeners out there. But with the whole monarchy, man, my heart goes out to the family. She lived a very good life at 96 years old. And, it's just hard. 70 years on the throne is the longest reigning monarch in English history, which is huge. And it was interesting because Steve Newell, who was my adopted dad, the one that came to Russia to adopt us, we actually lived in England for quite some time. And because he was part of Princess Diana's royal guard, so he got to see Queen Elizabeth multiple times and interact with the royal family. So that's why that's why I'm a little bit saddened by, with the passing of her, because it's like it touches our strings and it hurts. And that doesn't hurt, but it's a teary moment, especially when you have family that you're close to. And so
Yes, I wanted to dig into that. You were a young boy at the time when your father and your family had lived in England. Coming to adopt you from your former country of Russia. How was that experience? I don't know if you remember it. I can't expect you to remember the experience of seeing Princess Diana and the royal family. Do you remember any of that?
So I remember the royal family, but Princess Diana died before I was born. But I came to England around 8.5 years old. So we spent some time in England before we're going to Bend, Oregon. And so, but during that time, all I remember was England does get a lot of rain. That's number one. And number two, just the elegancy of Queen Elizabeth and the royal family is like the top of the top. And that's why I just love her beautiful taste for like clothes. You see, and there's a big contrast between American public figures and English public figures. For instance, the Queen Elizabeth did a very good job of training her grandson Williams and even her great grandkids of just acting proper, like English properly, acting like doing all your courtesies and all that, and just seeing her, watching from a citizen standpoint, just seeing that like play out, eating a certain way, having utensils, like we had 13 different, not 13, but like 9 different utensils because one was used for different items on your food. So it's just that English rapport that was just being that we were taught, and it's just like something that lives with you. And it was by Queen Elizabeth that she wanted the best out of her citizens in England.
Oh, yeah. And, for the folks that are tuning into this episode, as we opened it up with that special message that Queen Elizabeth had said, some 70 years ago at the age of 26. The elegance, the way she properly addressed not only the people of England, but the people of the United Kingdom and Great Britain as well, too. And then that was special, Sauce. That was that was a big deal, like that was the first Christmas message,
Yeah. And another thing is that you have to give her some prods. You have to give her some credit where it's due, where she just wanted to have like a regular life. And so that's why she was not in the media a lot. And she didn't want to. One other thing that we've also learned, and I've kind of faltered away, was she didn't want all the attention on her. So that's why she didn't do any interviews. That's why she didn't go in the press a lot. And that's why she just wanted to stay out of the limelight and just allow people to do their normal thing, because that's one thing that have to give her some credit where it's due. And she did live a Christian life. For instance, in the Bible, it says, do not be prideful and arrogant and do not be self-centered. That's one thing that she lived a very good. She lived that out, what God commanded her, or what God commands us to do, is do not to be too prideful or too self-centered, because if you're too self-centered, you're not going to worry about others.
Yeah, she wasn't big on public appearances.
No.
She tried to stay very private. She didn't like the limelight. Sash, literally, you nailed it on the spot here.
Savaged, unfiltered.
Hey guys, this show is now on Amazon Music and Audible. That's right. Gonna want to check us out on Amazon Audible and Amazon Music. Great set of platforms. We are so honored and grateful to be part of the Amazon team. And we're honored that they are allowing us to be launched on those two major platforms. So thank you to our new friends here on Amazon Music and Audible.
She's going to go down as probably the most elegant queen, and not only Great Britain, but the rest of United Kingdom history. All of Europe will forever be in their thoughts for Queen Elizabeth II. But guys, we're going to try our best to give tribute to the Queen. But I also wanted to make a segment here a little bit later into the show, some of the reactions that we're getting across the world, okay, and in the country here, and then throughout the world, some nasty responses. Sas has experienced some of that myself as well here on social media, some of the comments coming in, but I'm going to get into that in a little bit. I want to get into this segment here with you, Sas, with King Charles. All right, folks. So basically, King Charles, when he was mourning his mother, right, he vowed to carry one thing on her legacy, where he gave a speech. And in the speech, he said this in regards to his mother, the Queen. To my dear mama, as you begin your last great journey to join my dear late papa, I simply want to say this. Thank you, King Charles said. And the king also quoted Shakespeare's Hamlet, concluded that by saying, flights of angels sing thee to thy rest. Some powerful stuff, real powerful words by King Charles.
Yeah.
What's your thought on that?
One thing is, I have to say, he's a very elegant speaker and he's a very elegant writer. And I think that is a tribute to his mom that, made sure that they had the best of education. So, I think that's where I'm going to leave it at.
Yeah. Well, he also went into these words too, where he said, our values have remained and must remain constant. Whatever may be your background or beliefs, I shall endeavor to serve you with loyalty, respect, and love as I throughout my life. Now, the king basically paid tribute to his family, and he said that his his younger son, Prince William, okay, would become Prince of Wales, a title that Charles himself held for many years, and it's a tradition there in Wales. So this is rather interesting, Sas, where we now have a king that's ruling England instead of a queen. For the longest time, it was the queen, was it not?
Yes.
Yeah, usually you have the queen that rules over the king, and the king is basically in second command. You
Yeah.
know, but we haven't seen that in quite some time. Not in my lifetime. I surely not your lifetime,
No.
Sas.
No. Well, it's going to be interesting to watch. That's my whole thing. It's going to be very interesting to watch because I know he's very more politically involved than Queen Elizabeth was.
Yeah, yeah. Really, he's going to be more involved, I think. But it's going to be sad. You know, we seen here. You know, now going on to the New York Times, they put an article out with Queen Elizabeth II's portrait is now hanging literally in the main hall of Buckingham Palace as you walk in, and it's being heavily guarded by Britain's royal guards, so to speak. And a lot of Queen Elizabeth sauce dates back to even Winston Churchill, you know?
Yes.
Yeah, the first prime minister.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's a lot of history.
How cool is that?
It's extremely cool. It's extremely fascinating that, you know, that ladies and gentlemen, the first prime minister, Winston Churchill, right? You know, the history between Winston Churchill, Queen Elizabeth, the royal family, it all ties together. But it's going to be interesting now that you know, King Charles III, you know, now returning to Buckingham Palace from Scotland, where Queen Elizabeth had passed away in Scotland. She passed away actually this past Thursday, folks, for those who are just catching up to the story. Very, very sad story. The echoing in Great Britain and England, Sas, is going to be echoing for a long, long time with the passing of this great, great queen and the legacy that she had left behind. But I want to get into some reactions here. You know, just of what's going on. You know, obviously, you know, politics has changed many, many times over. And some of the reactions that we're seeing on the radical left, Sauce, is disgusting. Did you want to get into some of those reactions that you're seeing firsthand?
Yeah, I love to. I mean, I'm just never in my lifetime have I expected this kind of, you know, when somebody passes away, I thought there'd be like some decency and some moral compass saying, man, you know, somebody just passed away. Why don't we just show some respect and show some dignity, you know? So one thing that I want to kind of brush up on is if anyone follows my Facebook handle, Saslin Timason, you will be able to see the nasty remarks that are coming out on my page. For instance, one thing I did was one thing I posted on my Facebook page was saying, remember, God loves it. My podcast will post a tribute, which we did for the 10 days of legacy of her life. May God bless the Queen. So it's interesting because somebody actually, this is actually coming brand new. Somebody just commented on your thing. So this is very, very interesting. So
I did not yet see that, but go ahead, Sauce.
So this individual says, for the first time ever, I never heard anyone in America say God bless the Queen. Wow, 249 years since then. And then he went further on to say, well, thank God you changed your name from Patriot to Unfiltered Youth British Queen Loving Psycho Loyalist.
Yeah, it sounds like you're reading word for word there. It doesn't seem like they're speaking correct and accurate English. So,
No, no, that was towards you, by the way. That was directed towards you.
you could thank them for me in return. You can just say thank you for the support. That's what I usually give to the radical left. I think they hate that. When you say, oh, well, thank you for your support. It's kind of like like a yeah, whatever, jackass. There's something here that came in reference to that, and I'll say it again. Where they left Sauce a really nasty comment. Why are you giving tribute to a racist tyrant? Yeah, that's kind of like what you just said. That's not very patriot, bro.
No.
How is it not patriot? That's what I'm trying to say.
Well, when you have family, what are you supposed to do? When you have family in England, what are you supposed to do after they lose their beloved queen for over 70 years that they grew up with? Oh, well, I'm sorry. You got to be dedicated.
So, guys, we have some bad news about the Queen of England. The one who allegedly might have killed Princess Di. Allegedly might have had a son that was on Epstein Island. Allegedly might have colonized parts of Africa. Allegedly might have held hostage the OPEC nations of the world for their blood diamonds. Well, guys, apparently, as coroner, I looked at her, I perfectly examined her, and she's not only really dead, she's really most
So I guess we're not patriots now because we're showing support and sympathy to a passing a passing queen, right, of England. We're not showing patriotism. We're not showing, the correct American demeanor, right? This person, Sas, I have to correct this person here. Does he not know that patriotism comes from England? The founding principle and formula of this nation comes from the entire European continent. Are they not aware of that?
I don't know.
I mean, having an argument with somebody is one thing, but not backing up your facts is another. Apparently this person, does not understand the background of where patriotism, conservatism, and the entire American principle comes from. It comes from our founders of England. It's one of the reasons why we left England to escape, some of the corruption and tyranny of the original king and queen. Now, folks, the original king and queen were not, peas and carrots. They weren't, friendly that they are now. There was a lot of craziness in England and Great Britain. So I just wanted to put a correction there, and then he goes into God and religion. What's about this here? This is like the radical left. This is what they're known for. What's up with that? I was reading these comments, Us. God and religion. You're going to go into God and religion. That's disgusting.
Yeah, it is just appalling.
With some of the reactions coming from the radical left. Did you see that video? I know you. I sent it to you off the air. With some of the reactions coming in on CNN, some of the anchors are even saying,
View.
Yeah, the nasty
and
View,
then MSNBC. I'm just, what kind of, are they stupid or what? You're telling me that they are. You're telling me that no, I'm sorry. There's a thing called a job. People like you. People have jobs, and if they have to mine, they have to mine. And so many of them want to connect everything to slavery, and everything has changed in the perspective of this worldview. They just want to fuel. They want to fuel hatred, and they also want to fuel division, even in America and even in England. So they want to manufacture racism, and so that's what they're trying to do, and divide this and make this passing of this queen like a slap in the face of the royal family.
Yeah. We actually have a sound clip here, folks. We're gonna plug into the show. Check some of this radical hate towards the passing of Queen Elizabeth. It's disgusting. Check it out, guys.
Savaged Unfiltered.
If you really think about what the monarchy was built on, it was built on the backs of black and brown people.
If a good job of being queen is to represent white supremacy and to represent that link to colonialism, then yeah, I think she's done a very good job.
What I was trying to say was fuck the queen. Today, the day before, tomorrow, every day, and beyond.
She wore a crown with pillaged stones from India and Africa.
Do y'all understand how the fuck colonization works?
There are also countries where she and Britain represented colonialism, oppression, economic hardship.
The video here that we plugged in with some of this hatred remarks that some I were basically airing on the show. Some of it is coming from mainstream anchors. There was a TikTok video that was shortly in the middle of that little bit there that I plugged in, which she was like saying, fuck the queen now, fuck the queen later, and fuck the queen beyond. If that does not give a disgusting dialogue, I don't know what does, because this is disgusting. Sas, if they're going to do this to the Queen of England, can you imagine? We're coming up to the 21st anniversary of 9/11. Can you imagine some of the reactions that's going to come out after this Sunday? Oh my goodness.
I don't even want to imagine. They're probably going to say, well, it was rightly deserved because all of them are white. It was rightly, for anyone, and it shows, it's really sad because it just shows your incompetency and how uneducated you really are. Yeah. It really does. It's just really depressing because you're going to stoop down to the lowest of the low, and you're going to stoop down to the like being just a douchebag, and pardon my language, and just to make yourself feel better and to make yourself feel confident and to keep yourself high on the high horse. So you're going to start calling out names and just start offending people. No, that just shows how big of a D-bag you really are, and how your listeners are incompetent for just listening into the whole thing.
Well, some of the listeners that do listen into some of the, they're not incompetent. I mean, yes, I'll admit I do have some kind of bad eggs in the batch that sometimes tune into the show. Every show usually does, but some of the listeners, the majority of the listeners that tune into the show here on a conservative background, they get it. They're like, this is literally, guys, I said it once, I'll say it before. Liberalism is literally a mental disorder, and we're seeing it literally every single day. I'm going to point out a quote shortly here before we close it out here with Joseph. Just the other day, mentioned the same thing. A lot of these people suffer a lack of education. That's one of the reasons why they act this way. They behave this way. It's really an embarrassment, not only to them, but it's an embarrassment to our nation on the world stage, Sas. Yep.
It's just depressing, and no one's going to hold them, and no one's going to hold them accountable for it either.
No, because it's part of their free speech. They're allowed to say it. But God forbid if somebody like myself or you, does the right thing, and we say the right thing because it's facts. We're looked at as a hatred, a white supremacist, a racist, a this or that. It's literally double standard. It really is.
Yeah. And the sad thing is that even if it even comes down to if you're a patriot compared to a rhino, it's sad because even the rhinos, even in America, will eat after you, go after you as well. So and we'll go with that. We're going to go on that subject another day, but that's going to be for another topic. But it just shows you how depressing really is.
Oh yeah, it really is. First, folks, I want to make an announcement here before we close it out here. I just reminded myself. Thank you, Mackenzie. She literally just through the notes here. Thank you. But you could pass it to me, Mackenzie. You don't have to throw it. We're just joking on the show. We've been joking in the last couple of days here. We're having some fun. But guys, we had scheduled here a good friend of myself here on the show, Mr. Robert McLinn. Was supposed to be on the show here. He's having some audio issues with his mic, so I apologize that he wasn't on the show. Just literally emailed the show here. Mackenzie got the email, so I apologize he's not here. We'll try to get him back on the future because he's got a lot of great insight here on politics. He happens to reside in New Jersey, so he's fighting that tyranny in New Jersey with the governor, Murphy there. But also, too, guys, I want to make an announcement as we close off here. We're adding another panel here on the show. Mackenzie, myself, we and a few others here on the show, Joseph and I, we had discussed this, and I'm going to discuss this here with Sas because he's the first to hearing this. We're going to be having basically it's going to be called a blooper reel, and the name of the show will be called the Savage Blooper Reel. Now, what is this? It's basically uncut, unfiltered, more uncut, more unfiltered, more to give to the listener on some of the stuff that you don't hear on the show. Now, some of the stuff is edited out. A lot of it's cut out. Some stuff, some show notes that we discussed before the show. I figured we put it all together, on a weekly basis. So like once a week, we're going to come out with this where we're basically, kind of giggling, kind of joking around, just being ourselves, right?
I love that idea.
Isn't it great, Sauce?
Yeah, I think I love that idea because it shows our personality and it shows like a different perspective on us, saying, hey, you know what? Anyway, we make mistakes, and it's like, and you're joking around with it, so I like that. That's cool.
Yeah, it's something that we thought about, giving to the listeners. We were going to put it on the premium section of Spotify, but I kind of thought about it, and I'm like, you know what? Just keep it free. Why should I have somebody pay for it? Just download it on your personal leisure or just listen to it on Spotify for free. It's not about making money. It's kind of more of like giving back to the absolutely, Sauce. You got it. Yeah.
And it's also about like giving back to the listeners as well as just putting a smile on their face.
Absolutely. Putting that smile on that face, making the listener happy and everything, thinking that, hey, Mike and Sauce and the rest of his team there on the podcast, they listen to us, they're giving back, and it's all about giving back. I'm a firm believer about giving back. So, but guys, as we conclude here, I wanted to keep it short here because I'm still somewhat on vacation here. I'm supposed to be checking out of the hotel here roughly about 2:30. So I gotta wrap it up soon. Thank you to the hotel team here at Hilton for letting me basically broadcast this in their hotel room here. I hope the sound's coming through clear on your end here. But
it's coming in great.
Awesome. They got a really good, awesome Wi-Fi here. So thank you to Hilton here of Clearwater Beach. We had a great time here. Beach is like freaking powder. It really is. But as we conclude, guys, I want to say this message, and Sash, you can piggyback off of anything too if you want to conclude here of your personal message of what we were talking about today. Let the viewers be reminded of the passing of this great Queen Elizabeth II. Let her passing remind those that, elegance and honesty is still alive in this world.
Yeah.
Because she showed a tremendous amount of it. So that's what I just wanted to pass along to the audience and the listeners tuning into the show. Sas, do you have anything for us, man, before we close out?
I just think my heart still goes out to the families in England and around the world that were impacted by Queen Elizabeth's hard work and her dedication and of making your life better and just making the world a better place. And try to leave out the negativity during this time because don't stoop down to the level, because if you want to make an impact, take the right side and take the high road. Don't stoop down. Don't think that you have to get attention just because you are desperate or you're insecure about yourself. Just take some time, reflect on what Queen Elizabeth has done, and also reflect on the families that were forever changed tomorrow, which is 9/11. And it's just, just take some time to think. So that's all I have to end on.
Yeah, and I'm going to make this quick note here before we close out, Sas. A lot of what Sas had just said, briefly right here on the show, is in reference to some of his shows that he had this week, which I highly suggest you tune out to. Are You Bittered with God, which was a tremendous episode. You did really awesome work there on that one episode, Sas. And also to Forgive and Forget. Awesome episode. If you missed those episodes, I highly suggest you go over to his panel there on Spotify or anywhere you hear a podcast and check out those 2 episodes with his podcast. Remember, God Loves You and I'll Meet You at the Finish Line podcast with Soslan Timison. Guys, before we close out, I want to remind the listeners, okay, exactly what Sas says. Please let's use this week as remembrance of just who we are as a nation, especially with Queen Elizabeth passing, and this weekend too, with 9/11. It's been 21 years since those buildings fell down from those cowardly, people from the Middle East, the terrorists there. So please, guys, please keep those people in your thoughts and prayers, because a lot of that, folks, is going to come out on the show this Sunday, not only from myself, but from the 3 of us that's going to be on that panel. And also too, Sash, you do have a show of your own, right? You're going to be doing a special tribute on your show, I'm told.
Yes. So I'm going to be doing a special tribute tomorrow. So we're going to start off with the prayer and stuff, but I want to give like a factual, never forget, and the importance of not forgetting, because we just have to continue to remember. So, and then we'll be back to regular programming on Monday. So I don't know what's going to be like for your show, but I'm going to be back to regular programming on Monday.
Yeah. We have a guest scheduled for Monday. I forgot who it is. I got to look at at our calendar here. So, but with that being said, Sas, thank you for joining. I know you had a busy week. Really, really busy week for Sas. Thank you for coming in on the panel, buddy.
No problem.
Yeah, and we're gonna kick it off, guys. Here, we're gonna send you adjourned. Have a great rest of your weekend, and we will see you tomorrow, guys, for the special episode. Yes.
Yep.
Already.
We will see you at the finish line. Have a blessed day.